By August 1861, Missouri's future remained undecided. The Union held St. Louis. Federal troops occupied Jefferson City. The Missouri River remained under Union control. But in southwest Missouri, events were moving in a different direction. Nathaniel Lyon had spent the summer moving aggressively across the state. Governor Claiborne Fox Jackson and the Missouri State Guard had retreated south. There they found allies. Confederate forces under Brigadier General Ben McCulloch joined Sterling Price's Missouri State Guard near Springfield. Together they created the largest pro-Southern force Missouri had yet seen. The collision was coming, and when it arrived, it would become one of the most important battles fought west of the Mississippi River. Before the battle itself came a warning. On August 2, 1861, Union and Southern forces clashed at Doug Springs. The fighting was limited. Neither side suffered heavily. Yet Doug Springs revealed something important. The armies were close. Too close. Neither side could remain in southwest Missouri without confronting the other. Lyon understood the danger. His army was outnumbered. Many of his soldiers were exhausted from weeks of campaigning. Supplies were limited. Reinforcements were uncertain. Several officers urged caution. Some favored withdrawal, but Lyon believed retreat carried its own risks. Leaving southwest Missouri would surrender momentum and potentially allow Southern forces to expand their influence across the state. Instead of retreating, he made a different decision. He would attack. On the evening of August 9th, Union troops began moving toward the Southern camps along Wilson's Creek. Lyon's plan was bold. Perhaps too bold. The Union Army would divide into two columns. One force under Lyon would strike from the north. A second column under Sigel would attack from the south. Together they hoped to catch the Confederates and Missouri State Guard by surprise. If everything worked perfectly, the enemy could be trapped between the two attacks. But dividing a smaller army against a larger opponent carried enormous risk. The entire plan depended on timing. And timing in war rarely behaves exactly as expected.
If this story feels unfinished, that's because it is. The Missouri in the Crossfire series goes deeper into the people, the decisions, and the chaos that reshaped Missouri during the Civil War. Find the full series at mostcivilwar.website/books.
Before dawn on August 10th, Union troops struck. Lyon's attack achieved complete surprise. Southern forces scrambled to form battle lines. For a time, the Union appeared close to success. Fighting surged across ridges, fields, and wooded slopes. One hill soon became the center of the struggle. Union soldiers would later call it Bloody Hill. Again and again Southern attacks crashed against Union positions there. Again and again the defenders held. The battle became a brutal contest of endurance. Smoke filled the air. Visibility disappeared. Units became confused. Commands were misunderstood. Men fought at close range in conditions where it was often difficult to see more than a short distance ahead. While Lyon fought on Bloody Hill, Sigel initially achieved success elsewhere. His column drove Southern forces back and gained a favorable position. For a brief moment, the Union plan seemed to be working. Then everything changed. Confederate troops approached wearing uniforms that looked similar to those worn by some Union units. The confusion proved disastrous. By the time Sigel's men recognized the mistake, it was too late. Southern forces opened fire at close range. Sigel's command collapsed. His troops retreated from the field. The southern portion of Lyon's plan had failed. The battle now rested entirely on the exhausted soldiers fighting on Bloody Hill. Throughout the battle, Nathaniel Lyon remained near the front. This was not unusual. Aggressive leadership had defined his Missouri campaign from the beginning. But it came at a cost. Lyon had already been wounded once during the fighting. He continued leading anyway. At one point, seeing exhausted troops around him, He reportedly rode forward and called for another charge. Moments later, he was struck and killed. Nathaniel Lyon became the first Union general killed in the Civil War. His death shocked both sides. Few individuals had shaped Missouri's early war more than Lyon. His energy, determination, and willingness to act had changed the course of events repeatedly since May. Now he was gone.
Follow us on TikTok. We post Missouri Civil War history every day, battles, people, and the stories most don't cover.
Despite Lyon's death, fighting continued. Union troops held Bloody Hill for several more hours. But their situation grew increasingly difficult. Casualties mounted. Ammunition ran low. Exhaustion spread across the ranks. Eventually, Union commanders chose to withdraw. The battlefield remained in Southern hands. Technically, Wilson's Creek was a Southern victory. But like many important battles, the story was more complicated than the final result. The Union Army retreated. Yet Southern forces failed to destroy it. Missouri did not suddenly become Confederate territory. The strategic situation remained unsettled. Wilson's Creek matters for several reasons. First, it was Missouri's first major Civil War battle. Thousands of soldiers fought. Hundreds became casualties. The conflict had moved far beyond isolated skirmishes. Second, the battle elevated Sterling Price. His leadership during the campaign increased his popularity and influence throughout Missouri. Third, it transformed Nathaniel Lyon into a Union martyr. His death became one of the most remembered moments of Missouri's war. And finally, Wilson's Creek demonstrated that Missouri would not be secured quickly by either side. Both Union and Confederate leaders entered the campaign hoping for decisive results. Instead, the struggle continued. When the smoke cleared over Wilson's Creek, Missouri remained divided. The Union had lost a general. The Confederates and Missouri State Guard had won a battlefield victory. But the larger contest remained unresolved. The fight for Missouri would continue. And within weeks, Sterling Price would launch a campaign that led to one of the most dramatic Confederate victories in the Trans-Mississippi Theater. A victory achieved with hemp bales, determination, and a siege that captured national attention. In our next episode, we travel to Lexington. This is Missouri in the Crossfire. And the battle for Missouri is far from over.